Like,
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to WABAN, the movie and TV show podcast where an expert on the subject discusses things with the average viewer. I am your host, Nim, and today I am joined by Zahir.
what's he say about what's the quote? There was a thing that he kept repeating to Fly, and he was like, lose all worldly possessions and just let yourself be free and disconnect it from the ground or whatever.
Become the wind or something. Yeah. It was like the quote from Guru Lahima that he kept repeating. Yeah. I don't remember the exact words of it, but yeah.
It's just like, you kept doing the main villains. I'm like, okay, I need to remember this, and then I didn't, and then I failed you. Yeah. I feel like it made more sense for me to do the main villains each time, because that's like the main difference between seasons, where it's like, right.
because like other than that, all the other like main characters are typically the same. They do occasionally introduce new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, should have introduced you as Varric. Darn it! Oh man, that would
Julie, get the thing.
Julie, do the thing. Yeah, so anyways, we watched season 3 of Legend of Korra. Now, before we get into it deeply, I just want to ask initial thoughts on it.
It wasn't bad. I mean, general story-wise and like conflict was not bad. Can't say that I hate it. It could have been better. However, what I did love is the expansion on, like, it was very vague in general, but it gave me a lot of deep ideas about the bending styles and like what bending is capable of.
Right. I think what you mean is probably more specifically with the I guess the villains, right? Because each one is a bender, but they have like their own sort of special style.
Mm-hmm.
So like the one is like Sparky Boom Woman. And then there's
a head and a half taller than her boyfriend, which is
yeah, right, exactly. So just your kind of girl, and then there's obviously the lava bender.
He confused me, because Avatar Roku, right?
Roku,
invented lava bending. But my brain always thought that was him combining fire bending and earth bending. But apparently it's just an earth bending thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so which in a way does make sense. Because earth lava magma is just super hot earth realistically, right?
Which would make sense if he was just bending already existing lava, but how does he get it to lava in the first place without fire bending?
Well, if you think about a lot of benders, if they're good enough, can adjust the temperature of the element that they're bending, right? So you see water benders, for instance, can freeze water and then turn it back to liquid. We never really see water benders turn steam into water, or like water into steam much. Although you do see them like take like water from like clouds and stuff, but that's not really the same. But yeah, and then it's also mentioned that like airbenders can adjust the temperature of their body by adjusting the temperature of like the air flow and stuff.
All right.
So I think the idea is that like if you're good enough as a bender, you can change the temperature of the element you bend. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if you're good enough with earthbending, you can change the temperature of it. You can heat it up enough to where it turns into lava.
Yeah, I didn't consider it the same as just turning water to ice like all the waterbenders do, but
right, exactly. It's like a similar type of thing. Yeah. You're just changing the phase of matter that it's in, I guess, the state of,
I also really liked Bolin's little arc with that, because it's like, I can't metal bend, it doesn't happen, it doesn't work, and then because he's a lava bender, he's the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it wasn't what he was looking for, but he got there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the fact that like Korra is the first metal bending avatar.
Yeah.
Which that's one thing I wonder. I'm like, so did Toph never teach Aang how to metal bend? I mean, come on, Toph. Like, so because it says Korra is the first metal bending avatar, so
Yeah.
Aang never learned metal bending.
I mean, it makes sense. Aang had trouble with earth bending, so metal bending is probably like even harder for him. And
That's a good point. Whereas
it.
like Korra was always pretty good at earth bending, so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Punch metal to make it bend to your will. That's right up Korra's alley.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does make sense when you put it that way, I guess. But yeah, I think one of the first things when watching the season that I really noticed is like it is definitely an improvement upon season 2.
Oh, no doubt.
There's not enough Varric in the season though. He's in it. He shows up a couple times, but he's not in it very much. So that's a downgrade. But you know, that's the only downgrade. So I guess one of the big plot points, obviously, is the idea of the new Airbenders, right? That's what sets forth obviously the entire plot, right? That's what causes the villain to get out and escape. That's what causes, you know, the obviously the whole main thing was just them traveling the Earth Kingdom to find the Airbenders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a plot point that I've always been somewhat iffy on, because on one hand I didn't really like it because I really liked the idea of like Tenzin had to rebuild the air nomad, the Air Nation, from just his family. Like that was the only Airbenders that existed,
right?
And then like that, I thought that was a really interesting idea. And then just kind of having this, and also the fact that it was done through harmonic convergence, which I thought was stupid anyways. That's a whole stupid plot point anyways. So I was always a little iffy on that when I first watched the show. But one thing I will say is like, overall, I didn't really like the idea of just a bunch of Airbenders just becoming Airbenders randomly. But the way they handled it was done probably as well as it could be. I think they actually utilized it really well.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. It was definitely a kind of thing of like, I don't know mechanically how this works, and it was just like, yeah, this happened, and you don't get to know why.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, I guess it's like the universe is trying to like bring everything back into balance or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But like they've experimented with giving and taking away bending before, even if the giving part was only with the lion turtles,
mm-hmm.
which was in a vague story anyway. But it just feels like the kind of thing that they threw in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is interesting. But one thing I will say that I do like is that like they don't get rid of they don't like retcon what happens in season 2, even though the season 2 stuff I don't like the spirit portal thing was weird, and like the spirits living with the humans now is kind of weird. But like they don't, because like they go, you know what, even though like those ideas aren't great, but like we'll work with them because we're going to continue the story. I like that they just kind of made it feel,
they didn't just reboot it.
Yeah. So I like that, even though that stuff I didn't like in the last season. It's nice that they kind of continued it and were like, you know what, that happened. We're gonna build on it and do something better with it. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember the first time I saw this season it literally opened with the scene of Boomy realizing he had airbending, and your first thought obviously is like, oh, he's Aang's son, so maybe he just didn't develop it for many years for some reason. So you don't, and then all of a sudden you realize there's some random other guy's airbending, and you're like, what the hell? And, harmonic convergence caused it.
Yeah, my immediate thought was like, that was what was happening. Like, something is causing people to develop airbending unnaturally, and as soon as you put a stop to it, it's going to take it away, and people aren't going to want that because they like having airbending now, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I did kind of like the sort of excitement that Tenzin has in all more airbenders coming. He's like, he's just so excited to like do this. He's like,
I mean, it's like a speed boost on his revival of a nation. So yeah, of course he'd be elated.
Yeah. But I also liked that like they showed that like them trying to recruit people wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. They're like, we're going to go recruit people. Yeah, why wouldn't they want to become an air nomad? And it's like, why would they though? Because
they have like,
they've developed this cool ability, but like they have a life. Like the one guy was like, yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere. And his kids were like,
farm to tend to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like trying to convince people, like the montage of it. That was funny.
You get to shave your head. Your best friend will be a bison.
Don't worry about your worldly possessions because you won't have any. It's just like really selling it. But so that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually interesting now, though. An interesting thought, because like before, in the world of Avatar, pretty much anyone who is an airbender was an air nomad, grew up as an air nomad, and that was their lifestyle. Right. Now, we're going to have a world in the Avatar universe where there's just random people who have airbending in society.
Because so much. Yeah.
Right. Because like, obviously there's the ones who did decide to train with them. They're going to become air nomads. They're going to live that lifestyle, maybe a more newer, modern version of that lifestyle. Right. But like they're still going to, and then their children are probably going to continue on it, whatever. But there are the people who refused and continued to live out their lives. They're going to have the ability to airbend, and their kids might too. So like you're just going to have a bunch of people who just live in normal society who aren't air nomads, who are able to airbend, which is interesting.
I keep thinking of it like the swamp airbenders or waterbenders in The Last Airbender, because they're like this weird offshoot of waterbending that is like in the backwoods bayous of who knows where that nobody talks about, and that's going to be those airbenders. They're just going to create their own offshoots of airbending.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe they'll eventually add airbending to pro bending.
Oh,
once there's enough in society, you know what I mean? Like think about like a team of 4 benders, you know. That could be interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of interesting implications with that could definitely be explored more if you did like a show, either a show or like a movie or something. Because Avatar, they did create the Avatar studios now, and they're planning on creating more Avatar content in the future. If they did something exploring the next Avatar after Korra, maybe. So it would obviously be an earthbending Avatar, and it would be like, maybe, you know, many years later, now it's just normal for there to be like just airbenders in regular society.
Right, yeah.
That could be interesting. I think another interesting thing that brings up, though, is the idea of an airbending villain. Because that's something that up to this point in the Avatar universe has never even really been possible to exist.
Yeah, because only Aang.
In the original show, it's only Aang left. And like, you know, even before Aang, most airbenders lived the nomadic lifestyle. They're kind of peaceful people who, you know, whatever. I mean, they're not that there probably has been like airbenders that have gone bad in the past, I guess, maybe historically, but you know, not that we know of, at least. But yeah, it's only Aang, and then it's Aang's family. But now, because there's random airbenders who pop up, there is the possibility of an airbending villain. Yeah. And I like the exploration of that, because it's like, okay, what is an airbending ability that would only be used by like a villain who's
Oh, I know
okay with
exactly what
killing
you're
people.
getting. Yeah.
Exactly. Him sucking the air out of like the lungs of the Earth Queen was such a
That
cool scene.
that was one of the things I was talking about, of like expanding on the capabilities of bending, because
Mm-hmm.
we already knew blood bending was a thing, right? Like manipulating the moisture in the body to move it like a marionette. It's disgusting. But like now we know you can do about the same thing with airbending. So like, could firebending just like take the heat away from a body, or just spontaneously combust them?
Maybe like, yeah, it's interesting to explore these things, but yeah, I was like, I feel like that's something that I've always thought about. Like, you always think about like that's something you could do with airbending, but you're like, yeah, they wouldn't do that.
Right. It's such a brutal thing for a kid show. It's
But
like,
they
no,
do
they
it.
did it.
Which was, I thought it was really cool. Yeah, that was like a cool scene, and like it wasn't like us. You know, you were kind of okay with it because the Earth Queen was a total bitch. So you're like, yeah, she deserves to die. So you know, you're like, yeah, that's actually probably for the better that she dies.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, no, I
Apparently, she ate the old Earth King's bear.
oh yeah, that's
one?
true. She ate. Well, that there was the guy said there was rumors, but I'd like to believe those rumors because she would.
Oh yeah. And I just imagine the old Earth King and his little bear just like, wandering off
imagine him
into the
with
wilderness.
Bosco.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
And then her
She just
eating
eats
him.
Bosco. Like, I'm assuming it's like after he died, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. How long do bears live? I don't know. I mean, maybe they live at a different, maybe their lifespan is different in the Avatar universe too, so who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah. Yeah. Wait, you mean platypus bear? Skunk? Surely you mean skunk? Armadillo bear. Skunk bear?
Just bear.
Just bear. This place is weird.
I just love that they just the casual assertion that normal animals that aren't a mix is weird. Because like, every animal that you saw up until that point has always been some mix of something, or like a flying lemur or sky bison or whatnot, just something weird. So a normal animal is strange to them, which is makes me so happy.
It's great. It is great. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else. So I guess one thing to point out in this season too that kind of sets it apart from the previous seasons is the idea that it's exploring things outside of Republic City.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It kind of makes it feel more like the classic Avatar, where you're traveling the world a little bit, where like that's kind of the main thing. You see some places you've seen before, like the Siwong Desert,
Ba Sing Se.
Ba Sing Se, obviously, and then the what's the place next to the desert? What's it called? The thing with the ice thing in the middle, the oasis. What's it called?
Oasis Mist something about mist.
It's like the Misty Palms Oasis or something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Along those lines, yeah, that place.
Lake Laogai.
Oh yeah, Lake Laogai. Which, to be fair, the whole Lake Laogai scene was kind of pointless because the whole scene was just, oh, maybe they're in Lake Laogai. They go to Lake Laogai. Oh, nothing's here. It's abandoned. That was the scene.
It was like, okay, just a nod at like, we know you think it's in Lake Laogai because it was in Lake Laogai last time.
So we're gonna address it right away to be like, no, Lake Laogai's gone. It's done. Mm-hmm. We're not doing that again. Yeah. But we also get a cool new location. Being Zaofu, the metal clan.
Oh yeah,
that place was awesome.
Yeah,
that's like such
a civilization that birthed from Toph just being a badass.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because it's obviously Toph's daughter, and to find out that Toph has a daughter is interesting too. Another daughter, not a daughter. We already knew she had one, and that they both have different fathers.
Oh
which
yeah, that
is
was weird. And apparently neither of them met their fathers.
yeah.
So
So there's theories. I don't like to believe these theories. There's theories that
I'm
like
curious
one of
though.
them's father, I think maybe the younger one, Sue, that her father is like Sokka. There's
Well, I
theories
mean, like
about
he's
that.
one of the obvious choices, right?
Right, but like I like to think that Sokka just stayed with Suki and never did anything tough, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But like that's why. But like there's theories that like that's why they tried to keep that he was the father hidden because like he was with Suki and like you know
That reminds me, Suki never comes up at all.
yeah.
Like what the
Sokka's
hell?
mentioned a couple times, but barely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think
Maybe
Sokka's dead at this point. Which, like, okay, here's. I have a little issue with this. Okay, here's the thing.
go off.
Like, they give us cameos of Katara, so we know Katara's alive. They give us Zuko. Zuko's alive, right? Like, why does Sokka have to be dead? Why couldn't he be? Like, obviously, Aang has to be dead because he's in order for the next Avatar. But like, why not Sokka? Come on, he could still be alive. Or like, Sokka could have had kids. Like, Sokka would have. Sokka's a person I would imagine would have kids. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, come on, like give Tenzin some cousins. Like, come on, like that would be great. But no, they don't. They just kind of barely ever mention Sokka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's
they
not like
mentioned
one
that he was
season.
an official of some kind. Like he was the
Yeah.
judge in that one trial.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And then he's also like I think became chief of. They also mentioned him as Chief Sokka, so maybe he was like chief of the Southern Water Tribe at one point.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Well, yeah, because their dad was the chief, right?
Yeah. So obviously it would pass on to him or Katara.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it would be more likely him because he's definitely the more like leader type who's like you could see in the show that he was growing to being like a leader and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So that would make sense. But yeah, like yeah. But anyways, beyond that point, that also brings up the point that they have bring in Zuko in this season.
Yeah,
So.
I'd recognize that scar anywhere.
Yeah. They don't really do a lot with him. Like, he's just kind of there to be like, we gotta stop Zahir and stuff, you know? He goes to the prison in the beginning and to like try to stop the one woman from getting breaking
the scene in the
out.
elevator. He's like, she has an ability that allows her to explode things with her mind. I hired a Slenderman to kill the Avatar once. Didn't work.
They like look at it, it's like it didn't work. Like,
obviously.
They're probably thinking like, I thought you were like friends with the Avatar. Like, what? Like, I guess they had a complicated history.
Oh yeah. I just love the idea that none of these characters know anything about the first show. So like we're all just have our little secret knowledge as viewers.
Yeah, so when like Zuko references something like that, everybody's just like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. you sent an assassin on the Avatar once? What? Yeah. But I think it's also referenced here that he's not the Fire Lord anymore.
Yeah.
That it has been passed down to his daughter.
Yeah, they mentioned that he needs to go back to protect the Fire Lord.
Yeah, because he said like, oh, these guys don't like world leaders, so they're probably going to eventually be going after the Fire Lord. So he's like, I'm going to go home and protect my daughter. To help protect my daughter. So it's like, okay. Like, but people still call him Lord Zuko, but like he's not the Fire Lord anymore, right? It's
right.
Probably because he got old and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
Something just popped into my head. It doesn't really matter at all, right? But I just found it interesting in this moment that they continue to call his daughter, who is the Fire Lord, and not like the female equivalent, which would be Fire Lady, I guess, probably.
I don't know. I guess that's just not how it works in this universe. It's like just
Honestly,
whoever
as I
is.
said it, it sounded much worse as well, so I kind of get it. Fire Lord sounds cool. Fire Lady just sounds like, oh, it's the Fire Lady. Look over there. She's on the street doing her fire
Well,
twirlies.
even in like the original show, that it's referenced that Azula was going to become fire. Like she has that scene where he's like, "I will make you the Fire Lord," and she's like, "Oh, Fire Lord Azula." That does sound right, sound good, or something. I don't know. Whatever she said, you know.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Huh?
Yeah. But yeah. So I wonder if. So I don't know. Nobody knows what happens to Azula. I don't think, like at the end.
Yeah.
So there's like comics about how it's like she was at the end of the show. She was like last we saw her. She was like chained up.
Oh yeah,
and then like
just
she
going
like
insane.
Yeah, and I know in the comics there's like she like escapes somehow, and they like see her again, and she's basically just absolutely batshit insane. I don't know the full story, but she's just her
cuckoo.
mental health has gone down much further than when we last saw her, even, you know, which was already pretty low.
Oh yeah,
right?
She was like screaming and crying, like spewing fire out of her mouth.
Right. So I wonder if I feel like she's probably not still alive at this point in Korra. I mean, she'd be really old. Obviously, all of them are like old.
Right.
Really old.
She'd be a really cool like a callback villain though for like a little bit.
Or like maybe she like reformed and is living a simple life out somewhere because she's been like she doesn't feel like she can go back to, you know, living in the Fire Nation. So maybe she's like
somehow I doubt that.
I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, because I think that she shows up in some of the comics, but I don't think they ever give her like a definitive like end to her story. Right, as far as I know. I've never read the comics, but it's interesting. It'd be interesting to find out more about that. So trying to think what other things I want to say. So I guess the main conflict is interesting, which is about more interesting than the last conflict, where it's just the BBG. I'm going to be a dark avatar. 10,000 years of darkness. Yeah, for some reason.
Light versus dark. Ooh, that's as simple as it gets. Hell yeah.
Ooh, I'm the dark avatar. So it's sort of the idea of the philosophy of anarchy, which is kind of doesn't work in real life, but you know, whatever. Because I feel like no matter how much you try to establish a society of anarchy, there will always be some sort of government or something.
You right there, because a society of anarchy is an oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, exactly. A society, right? Exactly. Like it's just no matter how much you try to establish that, it's going to eventually lead to some sort of government forming. Like it's just natural. Like that's going to happen.
Right.
So it's like,
I guess their point that they're trying to make, like that Zahir is trying to make, is like, you know, none of this big stuff, just like simple farmer life, and you know, you protect your family with whatever means necessary. And that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's like it goes back to that idea of like each one of the villains in this show. The whole point is that they have like a point to them, even though they do make a good point, even if like they take it to an extreme that's too far.
Right.
I mean, well, okay, killing the Earth Queen was probably a good thing, but you know, whatever. But killing like the Fire Lord, if he had continued, wouldn't have been great, or him trying to end the Avatar cycle isn't good. So a lot of his stuff that he was trying was not a good thing.
Right.
And the way he's, you know,
the single note of a good point that he had in this dark cloud of evil was just a lot of these leaders are doing a bad job.
Yeah, but if you think about it, though, the only leader we know of that's doing a bad job in this world, as far as we know right now, is the Earth Queen.
Right.
Because, I mean, obviously the former leader of the Northern Water Tribe wasn't good, but we've already dealt with him, so now it's just his daughters who are in charge. Who, I mean, maybe, I guess, are probably doing a good job. I don't know. It doesn't really show. Southern Water Tribe's probably doing fine. The United Republic City and everything seem, the president seems to have, the interest of the people, people's best interest at heart.
Bit of an asshole towards Korra, but
it's out of good intentions, right?
Right. He's trying.
The whole idea is, like, as a leader, you should have the people's best interest at heart, which the Earth Queen obviously did not, but the other leaders, do. And we would assume that the Fire Lord is a good leader because, it's Zuko's daughter. It's got to be, come on.
Right. Zuko wouldn't let that happen, especially after his whole thing with Iroh.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to be careful about which child of his is going to be the next Fire Lord, He's going to make sure it's a good one. So yeah, it's you're kind of like, so you're like, because his whole point is that having world leaders in general is, like, just a flawed idea, which I don't know about that. Like, maybe there's some new ways to go about it. Like, maybe it shouldn't be a monarchy, like, again, the Earth Kingdom, where, like, the Earth Queen is still in charge the same way, like, in, the same sort of monarchy form. Like, you could tell when you go to the Earth Kingdom even that it's a very, like, primitive almost kind of, like
it's
they don't
class-based society, like, very heavily,
right? And they don't have
all the separation of rings, and then the queen just being like, I'm everything here, give me your everything. And if you compare even, like, the technology that's in the Earth Kingdom to the technology that's in, like, Republic City, it's, like, vastly different. Like, Ba Sing Se, like, updated their trains, and I'm sure the Earth Queen probably has, like, some good technology, but the people don't. I'm sure, like. You don't see the Fire Nation, but I would assume the Fire Nation probably has good technology. Right, we haven't seen the Fire Nation yet.
Yeah, I would assume the Fire Nation has pretty well advanced good technology, because they were always the more advanced technological country in the original show as well. So I would assume that, like, Republic City being so far advanced with technology is probably a byproduct of the Fire Nation's technology and, like, being shared with them, because like, it's shown, we know that the Republic City and, the United, whatever it's called, because it's the Republic City is, like, there's a whole nation. It's not just the city. I think it's, like, a whole.
Right. My brain just says it's Republic City, though, because I can't remember the bigger thing.
It's like the United Republic or something like that. I think. I think it's the United Republic. I don't know. That's what we'll call it. The United Republic was sort of started and established by Aang and Zuko working together, and, like, Zuko having the greater technology of his nation probably shared some of that with, which is part of why it, like, the city and everything, like, boomed in technology and stuff. Well, and they had, like, obviously people living in the city that were, like, technologically, who were inventing things, like Asami's dad, and I was gonna say Varric, but I guess Varric lives in Republic City, but he's technically from the Water Tribe. I think he's from the Southern Water Tribe.
I don't know. Varric is an odd man, because we first met him at the Southern Water Tribe, but
I think he mentioned that that's where he was from.
I was going to say that he, like, adapted to so many different cultures so quickly that he could be from anywhere. But if he actually said it, then
I think, if I remember right, I think it actually said that he was from the Southern Water Tribe, but like, he might not have lived there anymore. But I think that's, like, which we know Southern Water Tribe men can be very big geniuses, as we know with Sokka, obviously. So.
Maybe Varric is Sokka's son. Maybe that's
Maybe Varric is actually Sokka's son. That would be that would be great. No, his last name is Varric, though. That's his last name, right? That's not his first name.
I have no
Varric?
What?
I don't actually know.
I just know him as Varric. I don't know whether it's first or last or what.
That would be great if he was actually Sokka's son. Or like
like there would be one moment where Katara is there and it's like, oh, it's my nephew. There it is. There's the word. It's my nephew. How's it going? There, everybody was like, what? What are you talking about?
See, I think the only way that would make sense is if it was like an unknown like son that he had, because nobody, like, it would be mentioned if it was known. Like, it would be mentioned. Tenzin would be like, yeah, that's my cousin, you know, like it wouldn't be, he wouldn't be, but no, I don't think that's the idea. But that's a good theory. So Sokka has a few secret children: Varric, Sue, Su Yin. But yeah.
Okay, can we go back to that? So let's say Sokka is potentially one of the dads, right? For Toph's children. Who's the other? Who? Who?
I don't know.
Just some random person that we have.
Some night, you know, who knows? Who knows what Toph was like when she was an adult?
Honestly, Toph is definitely the kind of person who just like go out, like, you know, just to go crazy, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much.
No shame, no self-control. Just, yeah, let's do this thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Toph for a second, though, because it's mentioned when they go to the Metal Clan
that she's alive.
That she's like, yeah, she just hasn't been seen. She went to travel the world in search of enlightenment or whatever and hasn't been seen in years.
Yeah, which I call bullshit on that. No way Toph is searching for enlightenment. Nah, she's just going around having fun.
That's what she said to make it sound better, right? She's just going off just to have fun.
Just an old woman just going off vibing.
She's going off, pulling off scams like she did in that one episode of Avatar.
Oh my god, she could do it even better now. Because now she's not a little blind girl. She's an old blind woman. That's like even more vulnerable, more manipulative.
Yeah, exactly. She's just traveling the world, scamming people, and just living her best life. You know, maybe this is what it is. She had a secret. Sokka was her secret lover, and Sokka died. When Sokka died, she couldn't take it anymore and decided to travel the world. Boom. That's theory. That's our theory. Although I feel, if that's true, I feel bad for Suki though, because you know, I mean, you never know if Suki and Sokka stayed together, but I like to think they did.
I mean, I like them as a couple. I never also like the random flirtings between Sokka and Toph, but you know, canon is canon. I'll have to go with it. Yeah,
they never say who Zuko ended up with either. We know he has a daughter, but
I mean, it's probably the weapon girl, right? What's her name?
May,
yeah.
Well, I think there was like somewhere in the comics where they broke up, but then maybe they got back together. Who knows? So I don't really know. I think I heard somewhere in the comics that they like broke up or something. So I don't know.
We should read those. That's probably a thing that we should do.
Yeah. So we have more context for things like this.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, I feel like we're just going off on these tangents about different characters and like where they are now.
I have a new tangent. You want to keep going?
Instead of like talking about the actual content of the season, you know?
I mean, it's all there, right? Like, we're still discussing it. It's just the weird details that they gave us.
Yeah. What was your next tangent?
So, the expansion on bending styles, right?
Yes.
This season in particular with the villain gave us a new insight into how mindset affects bending, right?
Especially with the end when he flies.
Right. So we've already learned throughout the last show, this show, all the seasons of everything, that different bending styles are affected by your state of mind, right?
Yes.
So like Zuko's whole arc had this big thing of like, I can't firebend anymore because he lost his rage, which fueled his firebending. So then he switched to just passion to fuel his firebending.
Yes. Well, then obviously there was the episode where Aang was learning earthbending, where it was like all about he had to have the mindset of an earthbender in order to do it.
Stubborn, set in stone.
Right.
But this is interesting because we obviously have the duality with firebending, which, you know, rage or passion, and earthbending, which is like, you know, you can either be really stubborn and firm in your ways, or you can just be a very direct individual. And waterbending is, you know, more flowing, graceful kind of thing. But this is the first time that we get a different form of airbending beyond just freedom, beyond just like going with the flow and being calm and redirecting and avoidance, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the evil version. It's the one that goes a step few too far, where it's, I am completely free from this world because I have no attachment to it and I don't care about it.
Right. And he wasn't able to do it until his girlfriend died.
Exactly.
She was attaching him, his love for her was attaching him to the world. That was the last thing. Like, although, if he's really so detached from the world, why does he care so much about the world's problems, though? Like the world leaders and stuff.
Right.
I guess because he wants other people to feel the freedom he feels, maybe.
But it is such a cool thing to me that your very mindset in this world can affect what style of bending you have. Especially to that extreme of like, if you're an airbender, as soon as you have no worldly desires, you can fly. As soon as you're completely disassociated from the physical world, you will be able to disconnect from the physical world, from the ground.
Well, that's an interesting thing I've always thought about. Like, even before I saw this, is like, could an airbender fly? And like, we see that with their gliders, they kind of can. But it's obviously it's just using the wind to blow on the, you know, under the sails to kind of pick it up and glide. It's
and
not
even
the
like
same.
Just shooting jets of air underneath you, but you're just propelling yourself like a rocket at that point. You're not floating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is the first time I think it's a really interesting thing. And it's kind of cool because they actually did a decent job of setting it up too, so where it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere, because first off, he's quoting Guru Lahima literally from the first time we see him.
Oh yeah.
In the prison. Like, so
much.
Which establishes why he's so good at airbending, despite the fact that he just gained the ability to airbend. Because it's clear that he's studied airbending culture and air nomads and like the philosophies and stuff.
I'd also very like obvious. To note on that note, just as a little sidebar, I don't think his airbending is the same as traditional airbending. Like, there's a clear difference to me, at least that I saw. That, like, it's his own style, which I thought was really cool.
For sure. Which does make sense, because, like, obviously he's going to employ whatever fighting styles he himself already had.
Right.
Before he was a bender. So it makes sense that you would maybe sort of have a mix of that, whatever fighting styles he already knew, mixed with the philosophies of airbending that he already knew, and a lot of the So it makes sense that he would develop a sort of different style of airbending. I think it was just that's what I'm saying is, like, it's really cool that we got an airbending villain, and the idea of the story of them trying to rebuild the air, nation with like these new airbenders was a really done pretty well, I'd say. So that's why, like, at the beginning of this, we said, like, the whole idea of the random airbenders coming into exist, like everybody, a bunch of random people just gaining the ability to airbend was kind of a weird idea.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, didn't like, but the way they used it was good to make it like justified to where I'm like, okay with it. Because I'm like, they did something good with it.
This whole season was like built on the shoddy foundation of season 2, but they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, exactly.
What they had.
Right. They're like, we're going to take the building blocks that we from season 2 that we have and actually make something good out of it. And I like that they didn't really focus on the spirits that much, because like at the beginning of the season, it was like there was this whole conflict of like the spirits coexisting with humans. How we got to deal with that, and how does that, like, it's complicated, it's difficult. The people wanted the vines to be gotten rid of and all that stuff. And then like then all of a sudden she gets kicked out of the city, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to focus on that at all. The rest of the season has a completely different focus.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that, because I was like, yeah, I don't really want to focus on the spirits. Like, you would occasionally just have spirits like in the background just hanging out in places, because it's like spirits live with humans now. But like, other than that, it was like not that important.
I don't know, they seem to have like drifted slightly back to spirits are mysterious again. Because like I didn't see any two that were really the same.
Yeah, they kind of, I'd say so. And then, like, there was that spirit that was, like, looked like a freaking, like, I don't know, like, hedgehog or something that, like, in the beginning that was like, hey, watch where you're driving. like, I'm fine with that. And then there was that, like, spirit in the sand, which I'm assuming was a spirit, that, like, giant fish thing.
Korra said that it wasn't a spirit. But they
see, that's what confused me, because I was like, I feel like it is, because I feel like that did not exist before.
That was the first time we ever saw that thing.
In Avatar, when they were traveling through the desert, that wasn't like a thing they had to worry about. That wasn't in there. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it is a spirit, and Korra's just dumb. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Because, like, I feel like that, because they said like it didn't used to exist anymore or whatever until the spirit portals were open. So like,
yeah, that the desert was haunted once the spirits came.
Yeah, I like to think that it's a spirit, and that that's kind of a cool idea for a spirit too. Like, I like that. It's like swims under the sand. It's taking clear inspiration, taking clear inspiration from something like Dune, which is like
sandworm stuff.
Yeah, sandworm
That's
stuff.
Classic, the sandworms.
Right, which I think Dune is probably where that originated from, because that book was written in like the 50s or 60s. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars has used that idea. Yeah, with like the crate dragon things. But yeah, so but that was kind of a cool thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, just like the random creature that they find and have to get away from.
Yeah. Likely a spirit of some kind, and that's fine. It's not a good spirit or a evil spirit. It's just a spirit that wants to eat things that are in its path, I guess, whatever.
It does it. Like, just roll with it.
Like, that's the thing. I like when the spirits are just kind of seen as like just a force of nature. Like, they just kind of exist in their own little like bubble, not just like these are the good spirits, these are the bad spirits, these are the like these spirits are corrupted and now they're bad. Like, that's so
they
dumb.
could have easily just changed it to like, he's driving them mad, like, by doing something, instead of just you turn them evil.
Corrupted the spirits. I don't know, it was just so. Anyways, enough complaining about season 2, because we already did that enough in the last time when we talked about it. But yeah, and then another thing I have to bring up too is the final episode. The way this season concludes is very interesting.
It's
like a very bittersweet ending, right? Because it's obviously it's this happy event of Jinora getting her airbending tattoos.
Yeah, the day is saved. Jinora's, on a new stage of her life, getting their airbending tattoos recognized.
Yeah, but then Korra still has this like trauma, is like traumatized by everything, by the poison, and it's like, she's still feeling effects from it. She can't walk. Mm-hmm. She's crying like at the end, like and then it ends. It just ends with that. Like which I think is like a far, like, I think that's like we've come a long way from season 1, where like it couldn't end on a negative note. It just had to fix everything in the last few seconds randomly. It couldn't end it with like, oh, she only can airbend. Maybe she'll have to discover the others slowly throughout the next season. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Work with Katara to figure out how to unblock your chi points or whatever with bloodbending.
But that's what I'm saying. We come a far away from the end of the first season, where they just couldn't end it on a negative note.
Yeah.
To this, where it's like, it's okay with doing this and being like, yep, she's not okay. Like,
and you will live with this until we make another season. No distinction.
Yeah, which I think at the time, the season 4 started coming out pretty soon after season 3. I think season 3 and 4 were made very close to each other, if I remember right.
Oh, that's good. So they didn't have to wait long.
Yeah, like they were very much like planned out together, I think, from what I remember hearing. Because like when the first season came out, it was planned as one season, as I've said before, which I feel like is very obvious now that we've gotten into the show a little bit, that it's like, it was supposed to be, and from what I remember hearing, I think 3 and 4 were very much made very closely together. So they were very much planned in like together in a way. So I remember season 4 being pretty good, but yeah, no, I just think that's a really interesting way to end it. Like, it's like Korra's finally really feeling some real negative effects from like mentally from things that happened,
This is like when Aang basically died again.
Yeah.
That couldn't go into the Avatar state.
Yeah, it's similar to like that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really like the way it ends. It makes you want to start watching the next season right away, which is impressive. That's good, because I feel like Legend of Korra the other 2 seasons didn't really do that, where I want to watch the next one right now. I was just kind of like, okay, season's over.
Yeah, cool. Season's over, Korra's better now, or season's over, that was kind of trash.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So here's an interesting question though. If you were to rank this season with the other 2, so obviously the bottom is season 2.
Right.
That's obvious. So season 3 to season 1. That's what that's a difficult comparison, I think.
It is. I think season 3 has better story, but I think season 1 has better character stuff. But that's really only because it's introducing the characters for the first time.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, that's one of the things is like, as the show goes, one thing you notice about the show is a lot of the characters get sidelined for like, obviously the main character is Korra. Like in Avatar, I think all characters were balanced really well.
Oh yeah, it was excellent.
This show does not do that nearly as well. And I think a large part of that is because they don't have a lot of time to, because there's, seasons are shorter, first of all. Second of all, each season introduces a completely new conflict. So they have to take time to introduce a completely new conflict and then complete that conflict by the end of the season. So then they just naturally leaves less time to focus on each character. And I think that's one of the biggest points that makes this show weaker than Avatar. Because, as far as like a lot of the other stuff, as far as like world building, I think this is generally pretty good, except for season 2. And like just a lot of the expansion of the world and the lore and everything. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. It's just like, again, the focus on the characters aren't nearly as strong is the main issue I have with the show.
There is Bad Boy Cop, comedy relief Lava Bender, and the girlfriend driver. Yeah. Who's for some reason a real badass because she can like take on people on bikes with her bare hands.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, Asami.
Yeah. Like, go on.
Well, didn't she mention in like the first season that she had like self-defense classes or something like that?
I mean, okay. Did any of them include a motorcycle gunning it for you?
Yeah. I think one interesting thing about the season, I think they greater establish Korra's relationship with Asami, like as like, that was nice. Because like I feel like, yeah, because like I feel like like we already obviously have, and it's also it's almost like they're bonding over the fact that they both dated Mako too.
Oh, yeah, they both know what that train wreck is like. So
yeah, they're like, yeah, never again. I don't know why we still hang out with this dude. Like, gosh.
No, it's a mutual understanding of just, that might not have been the best idea if we both made mistakes. So
now we just keep him around for his firebending, whatever. There's another interesting plot point, which was the idea of Mako and Bolin meeting their family.
Oh, yeah.
That was interesting, I guess.
Almost senile grandma thinking that, I'm going to stay in this burning building. Like, no, we're going. Come on.
But it is kind of cool that you got like a little history of them because he said like, oh, that's where Dad grew up in Ba Sing Se. So then now we have a definitive answer to which parent was an earthbender and which parent was a firebender.
Oh, yeah.
So their father was an earthbender from Ba Sing Se. He traveled the world, met a firebender in Republic City, settled down, had kids, died, and when their kids were young, were killed by like, I don't know what they said, how they said they died, because like the family didn't even know that their parents had died, and then they lived on this, then they grew up on the streets, and so it is kind of nice to get like a full picture of the history of these characters, of like, obviously, it's two brothers who have different bending abilities, so obviously that means one parent is one is the other. So now we get a little fuller picture of that, so I think that was kind of cool.
It also brings me back to my little lava bending confusion, which is like, I thought you needed both earth and fire bending because it makes sense in my mind that Bolin would be a lava bender because he comes from both a earthbender and firebender, so while he would only know earthbending, the little bit of firebending blood in him would, link it to be able to like shift over a little bit to lava bending.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thing. Like that's why he has like a natural affinity towards lava bending potentially. Yeah. That's it. That's an interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. So maybe the lava bending guy had a firebending parent and an earthbending parent too. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know his history.
Oh, that the fights. So within the Mist Palm,
the Oasis,
yeah, that place. That fight between Bolin and Lava Dude and Mako and Water Girl. God, that's stupid to say. Whatever, but. Obviously, they both, are 1v1ing them and they lose. And then they come back later and it's a completely different scenario with Bolin having lava bending so he can fight on equal terms. But it was like Mako didn't have any character development really, or at least in his fighting style. So I was really confused, like, okay, why are you fighting the waterbender again? You're a firebender. Like, don't do this to yourself. You're
But
gonna
then he
lose.
used the lightning
Yeah.
to shock her. I'm like, why didn't he
Like,
do that before? I'm like, oh, that's
oh,
such an obvious thing when you think about it. You're like, oh,
right. It's such a like, oh yeah, firebender versus waterbender. Waterbender is gonna win. Like, no contest. And then you remember, oh, lightning
unless they
bending's a
have the
thing.
ability to do lightning bending, right?
Yeah, then a complete 180, no contest, firebender
I
wins.
just thought the idea of the water bender was kind of cool. The fact that she has no arms, so she just
Yeah.
uses water to create her arms. Like she just creates arms out of water.
Well, yeah, because it's like there's the lava bender, there's combustion girl, which is, obviously their own cool thing. There's the newly created airbender, which is unique, obviously. But then she's just like, she's not a bloodbender, she's not, a swamp bender or anything unique. She's just, I water bend as easily as I move my own arms because I have to. It's like, that's great. That's such a unique thing
that's an interesting. That actually is interesting that actually shows how powerful she is with waterbending in a way, because like you notice with bending, a lot of times it involves the movement of your body, and more specifically, usually mostly the arms. Right, that's like the part of your body that's most involved in bending. Right, you're moving your arms and your hands. She doesn't have any, but she's still able to do really good, like powerful bending.
right.
Like that's actually pretty impressive. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really know if I have a lot more. I feel like there's definitely like I keep thinking I'm like I know I missed stuff.
I feel like we went off on a lot of tangents and then missed some core things, but it was cool.
I really liked Sue and Lynn's family drama
of
with like what Toph was like as a mother, which I feel like.
Oh yeah, Toph wouldn't have been a good mother. No way.
Yeah, he's gonna say I feel like fits. Well, like the idea of her just giving their kids way too much freedom does make sense.
Oh yeah,
just based on like the way she was raised and stuff was like the opposite.
There was a whole cycle too, because her parents didn't give her enough freedom. She ran away, gave her kids too much freedom.
Yes.
Then the one gave her one kid not enough freedom, and it was like just slowly getting smaller and smaller of like how much error they made, until finally with Opal it was just like, yeah, can I go to the air temple? I was like, okay, fine, instead of just running away.
Well, and you realize like Su Yin is actually, after her traveling the world and her journey of self-discovery or whatever, she actually is a pretty decent parent. She has 5 kids that seem to be being raised well. It's like, okay.
It's like it only took a few generations, but you got it.
Yeah. Yep. I really like that. And then like Lynn is obviously like the opposite direction of being like just a complete hard ass, But it was cool to see. Like I did really like how they handled their like drama and them sort of, fixing their issues that they had with each other and stuff. It's just always nice. I feel like that's like some of the better stuff in this show as far as like character drama goes. Is like it's not like the main characters, like the Team Avatar characters. It's usually like the older like the kids of the original show's characters, because like in the last season we had the whole there was a lot of good stuff. With some of the best stuff in season 2 was the stuff between like Aang's kids, and then this season it's like Toph's kids, kind of, so it's kind of cool to see all that.
Right. Yeah, the only drama between the Team Avatar characters is always just like, oh yeah, I love triangle this, love triangle that, or Bolin failing to find a girlfriend. Except
I never get the same level of like connection between the characters as you do in Avatar, where like you can just get a real good sense of what their relationships with each other are like. You don't get that as nearly as strongly in this show.
No, it's disappointing.
Yeah, that is probably I think that's I mean, I've already said this. That's the biggest thing that's holding this show back from being as good as, or at least closer to being as good as Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't really know if I have a lot more to say about it. I mean, there's definitely more I could say about it. But yeah, I think I'm good for now.
Yeah, I'm
been
good.
recording for over an hour, so I might as well close out. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna think about ranking the seasons. I'm gonna try to. Maybe by next time, since we'll have all 4 of them, we can like kind of piece together a ranking. Again, season 2 is obviously at the bottom. That's like a no-brainer right
no
there.
contest.
Don't worry, I'm pretty sure we get a decent amount of Varric in season 4. More than Varric makes more is more prominent in season 4 than he is in season 3. I'm pretty sure. So excited for that.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Yeah. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening to WABAN this week. You can listen to a new episode of WABAN every single Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time. There are multiple different platforms you can listen to it on, one of which being our YouTube channel, which is, it's just called WABAN. So there's a link in the description to the WABAN YouTube channel. We have the podcast uploaded there, but we also have some gaming videos that we've been doing. So we've been doing Portal. Basically, it's me playing and Cub kind of witnessing how terrible I am at playing it. So it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun recording it, and yeah, so definitely check that out. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like, and you can also listen to it on a bunch of different audio platforms, including Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch more. So you can just search WABAN on those, and you should be able to find it. Also, check out my YouTube channel, which is Nim TV. That's NIMTV. There's a link in the description to that as well. I do a lot of movie-related stuff, movie, TV show type stuff, more like video essay style. That's sort of what I'm getting into now. Older videos have like just movie reviews and stuff, like of like new movies that came out, and they're not very good. But I'm starting a thing where I'm doing a new video once every month. So the next video I'm planning on doing this month, the month of February 2022, that's the year, right? Yeah, is basically a deep dive into the storytelling themes and visual storytelling of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, because that's my favorite Harry Potter movie. So because I've been watching those movies recently and I really wanted to make a video about it. So yeah, definitely go over to my channel, subscribe, get ready to check that out when it comes out. It'll be probably closer to the end of the month, but yeah. So anyways.
Even if that doesn't work out very well, you will definitely get a lot of hate messages for that's not the best Harry Potter movie. This one is. Your opinion's wrong.
I mean, there's a lot of people that also think that's the best, but there's also people who don't. So it's it's a mixed bag.
How many movies are there? 7, 8? So like 8.
8.
Yeah, so you'll get 1/8. That's that. You're correct. I support you. And 7/8. No. Change your opinion. Fix yourself.
That's one interesting thing about the Harry Potter movie series is like there's no one movie that's like unanimously like agreed that it's like by most people that it's like the best one. Like if like for Star Wars, for instance, like not everybody, obviously, some people don't share this opinion, but like if you asked a bunch of people, the most common answers would probably be like The Empire Strikes Back, right? Mm-hmm. Like easily, right? But with Harry Potter, I feel like it's very mixed. Like if you get like, and if you ask any like film buff, like film person who's really into like filmmaking and stuff, they'd probably say Prisoner of Azkaban. But like other than that, I feel like it's typically kind of mixed. So it's very interesting. But my favorite is Prisoner of Azkaban. There you go. That's fully out there in my opinion.
And according to 7/8 people, you are wrong.
Criticize me as much as you want. I don't care. I have reasons for why it's my favorite, and that's why I'm making this video. So yeah, that'll be my next YouTube video. Anyways, definitely check out Nim TV. Anyways, that's about all. So next week we are going to be talking since Valentine's Day is coming up. We decided we're going to talk about The Princess Bride, a classic that I have seen 50 billion times since I was a young child, and Cub has seen never. So
hell yeah, I only know a lot of the references because everybody makes them.
I mean, it is like up there as one of the most quotable movies of all time. Easily.
You've fallen for one of the classic blunders, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. So anyways, thank you all. That'll be next week. Then the week after that, we're concluding our Korra, Legend of Korra discussions with season 4. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. So that's the next 2 weeks planned out for the podcast. After that, we're not entirely sure yet, but we will figure it out. So yeah, look forward to that. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening to WABAN. I've been Nim.
And I'm Cub.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.